right, we're back with Rebecca for part 2. Last time, we left it off with your story. We left off last time as you have now, this would be your third time entering into the system, and I don't want to speak for you, but seemed as if, you're not feeling too good about yourself, feeling too good about, where you're at.
Yeah, feeling pretty bad.
Let's just recap a little bit. You are now going into the state system in Nevada, and how long are you sentenced for?
Sentenced for 10 years to life.
10 to life, so it's 10 minimum.
So, yeah, in Las Vegas, that means you have to do 10 minimum, and once you receive parole, you'll get out on parole for life.
All right. But this is now your third time into the system,
yeah.
So you have some familiarity of what you're not entering into a total unknown situation.
100%.
Okay. So let's talk about how that goes down. Do you go right from the courtroom to women's state prison, or how does this sentence, the long one, begin?
So when you're sentenced in the state of Nevada to prison, they need a couple weeks to obviously turn over your paperwork and things like that to the prison. So you'll just go back, and they'll do runs to the prison every week. But in Nevada, we only have one prison for the women.
Are you awaiting this in county? You're not
awaiting it in the county jail.
So
yep, back to your cell in the county.
So you're waiting in county to be transferred to state.
Yeah, they call it Smiley Road.
Smiley Road.
Right.
Smiley Road is the road from county to state, or what is Smiley?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Smiley Road, I suppose.
Recapping that again, where is the state prison in Nevada?
It's like on Lamb, and
that's also here in Las Vegas.
It's here, yeah.
Okay.
It's here in Las Vegas.
Okay. So what is, let's go into, what is day one looking like? What is your mindset on that at that point in time? And what is your plan?
So day one in the prison?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so...
you already know what you're facing. How are you feeling about this time?
So I know that I'm going to be, going into a sentence like that's like a high profile sentence. And it's a small prison. So I know there's several people that have been there that know me, and I've gone from like small sentences to a bigger sentence. So I'm kind of like dreading being that person walking back through the doors and then having that life sentence attached to me.
In a way, you're walking back in with...
I know I'm going to be around nothing but negativity, nothing but drama. And in my mind, I'm just like, how am I going to get through this time without literally becoming like these people?
Okay, so what does the first month look like?
Okay, so the first month, they put you in holding, and you go through like different medical tests and things where they determine where you're gonna go. That's like a dorm setting. And so typically you'll be in that for a month, and then they'll put you into another 12-person cell, and you'll be in there for another month. So for me, they pulled me out in 2 weeks, and they put me in, they have like cells for people who have longer times. And so that already jumped me off to a bad start. I wanted to, in my mind, I hadn't accepted that I had 10 years. So
10 minimum.
Minimum. So I was kind of like looking at it like, I'm just going to look at this like I have, 4 2.5-year sentences. I'm going to go, and it's kind of like a party when you first get there, because you're in these bigger units with people and you don't really have to think too much, but they nipped that in the bud by putting me in a 2-person cell where everyone in there had a long time. So I was like,
okay.
I don't want this.
And what is your health situation at this point? Are you...
So when I was in the county, how our county jail worked is that we had men above us, and you could hear them at certain times a day working out.
Okay.
And they would talk to you through the vents.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
So I had people telling me like, oh, this is what we do. We do X amount of burpees a day. Like, you should do this with us.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay.
I mean, there's not much else to do.
Yeah, I'll
right?
do that. Like,
Okay.
but I've never really, like, worked out in that setting. So I'm just like, it's just something to do. I felt like it was keeping my mind in a good place. It was, you know, time consuming. So I had started doing that.
So we're doing a little bit of working out in your.
I'm doing my burpees.
I'm saying though that.
Like, where's my health status at? So I'm
In a
also
way,
contemplating when I get there, I'm noticing that everyone's on psych meds.
Okay.
Everyone's on psych meds, so I'm like, okay, this is how people get through their time. They say this to get this. I have restless leg syndrome so that you can get sleeping pills, and I'm like, you know, let's see what's up with that.
So is that what?
So that's what I did.
So what does that look like, and how does that start?
So you would go to the, you know, whoever the mental health person is and just tell them whatever, and they would prescribe you these different medications. And so I did that, but I did not like they were blood pressure pills. I never, like, I would go 2 weeks doing different things, and I never liked how I would wake up feeling super groggy. I've never been a person who liked, obviously, to
But this is just
go
kind
down.
of changing, in a way, illegal drugs for legal drugs.
I'm just looking for something.
You're just looking for something.
Yeah. Not have to really think about what I have going on.
So at what point in time do you get into a more of a normal routine, and at what point in time do things start to change a little bit, and what is your plan for survival? I mean, you're now
So,
pretty much
yeah.
you're on your own.
So I'm on my own, and I kind of made a decision when I got to prison that, you know, I didn't really want to have anything to do with anyone on the outside. I didn't really want to call anyone. I didn't want to hear what was going on. I didn't want people to act different and feel, you know, like they needed to feel bad about what they had going on. I just wanted to completely disconnect. So for my first 2 years, 18 months, I didn't really call anyone that I knew.
Okay. But you still
Started to try to kind of figure out how I was going to do my time.
how are you going to do your time and how you're going to survive in there? Okay, like, are you getting a job?
So
Are you going to school?
So the first few times that I was in prison, I did not want to have a job or go to school. I as far as school went, I already had a high school diploma and those types of things. So this time I did want to get a job. However, jobs were somewhat limited at that point. Like everything that I didn't want to do the other times, this time it was like different because with the type of sentence I had, like you weren't allowed to go to camp, you weren't allowed to work certain jobs, you're a more high risk person. So at that point, when I first got to prison and they put me in the 2-man cells, I'm not sure how long I was in there before I went to the hole, but I did a significant amount of time in the hole, which is solitary confinement for my first 5 years.
Why?
I just didn't want to be around people.
So this was voluntary, or are you breaking rules to get in there?
And breaking rules. I had a hard time following rules.
Like what rules?
Off the top of my head, let me think. What rules was I breaking when I very first went to the hole? I mean, I got in fights. I found that when I got there that basically this is a smaller prison, and so a big thing that everyone did in Las Vegas is they were on websites for, you know, people to write them and have pen pals and things like that. So I'm like, okay.
So you had access to...
I'm not talking to my family.
But you have access to a computer.
I don't have access to a computer. So how you would go about doing that is you would write to the website and send them your picture and then send them like a bio. And then they would put you online and then people would write you.
All right. So there's no computer access.
There's definitely no computer access.
But how are you aware of websites?
So as I got there, and I'm like, just obviously, when you're in jail and you're in prison,
Let's give me an example of
Yeah, what do you want to
a website, and how do I
write a prisoner, meet an inmate.
Okay, and there's a mailing address.
There's a mailing address, and they will accept stamps.
The website is meet an inmate.
They will accept stamps as a payment
Okay.
for their services. So if you send us
I write a letter
$20
to meet an inmate, and I
hey, my name's Rebecca.
post. Can you please post
My pictures.
How do I send them pictures?
So I had pictures that I got printed out for me when I was in the county jail and sent to me.
Okay.
Because people are already doing that in the county jail. People are writing people, and that's how they're passing their time.
But you have to send the information to the website, and then the website posts your prison address, and you can receive incoming mail.
And at our prison, we also were allowed to receive emails. So you're not allowed to send emails, but they print out the papers for you.
How do you receive emails?
So that's the thing. They're writing a website called JPay, and they're paying, $1, or I don't know how much they paid, but then they're typing out messages to me, sending it off, and then at nighttime when they do mail call, the prison's like, okay, Rebecca, you have, here's your stack of JPays, and here's your letters.
When they do the mail call.
Yes,
okay.
Mail call every night.
So then, obviously, you've already been here a couple of times. You're already aware of that this was
I'm aware. I never quite got into it because I was there for a short amount of time, and I didn't. But I knew that I'm not a person who has a prison mom or a prison cousin or sister. I'm not functioning with people like that. So I want to, do this independent, talking to people and doing that.
All right. So then, but my thing is, you're aware that this type of thing was going on prior to you getting there. Now you're here for a long stretch. You're seeing that other people are doing this. So then this brings your involvement into this. How?
I thought to myself that I'm about to sit down and do 10 years, and I don't want to talk to anyone on the outside. I don't want to really get mixed up with anyone in here. This could be a beneficial thing for me. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my energy into this. I'm going to be on the phone, and I'm going to write letters, and I'm going to see where that takes me.
Okay, so how does this start? Website number 1 is what?
So website number 1 was Meet an Inmate, because that one was a little bit cheaper. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get on bigger websites once I start.
What's a bigger website?
The Write a Prisoner. I think that was $40 or $50.
For you to activate a profile.
For me to activate a profile.
So there's Meet an Inmate, Write a Prisoner.
No.
They're not that much different though. It's the same concept.
It seemed like people that were on Write a Prisoner had more.
You write a letter.
Yeah.
And you send photos. And I mean, how do you know if your profile is activated?
I start getting mail.
You start getting mail.
Yeah, name's getting called at mail call.
So
that's an exciting thing for people that's in prison. Right?
I would imagine so. I mean,
yeah, connections and
okay.
People want to.
So I'm curious to know, you send this information to this website. How long is it before you get something in the mail? And what comes
pretty fast.
And what comes in the mail?
So a lot of people in there are putting pictures that they took in prison. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate to have pictures that I had outside of prison, so obviously you probably look a little bit better.
Probably.
So yeah, I started getting mail right away. The JPay system was nice because they were able to send the email, so you get that overnight. So I'm waiting probably 10 days, and then I know it's on.
Okay,
because obviously you're not sending money, you're sending them stamps, so it's
And what comes in the mail? What kind of correspondence is this?
It's just different random guys.
And what do they say?
So something that I highlighted because I looked at other people's. I've always been a good writer, so I looked at other people's bios, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to highlight that I'm Irish. And that I'm, kind of just put it out there that I don't want to sound like a hardened criminal. I don't want people to know, you have 10 years. The assumption is that you killed somebody or something of that nature. They see 10 years, they think that. So kind of like come off a little bit more like I made some mistakes. And people, there's different types of people that gravitate towards women in prison.
I would imagine so, but from the way you're making it sound is that these ladies are getting locked up in there. They're signing up for this and they're getting a ton of mail.
People, so you also have your people who are like high profile cases. I was in there with, there was a girl named Kelly. She was a bodybuilder, her and Craig Titus. I don't know if you remember them.
No.
Two bodybuilders that had a threesome with another girl and they ended up killing her. It was like really big in the bodybuilding community.
Okay, so she's got, how long is
she's in there. She's got, 10 years. She's not even on the website and she's getting mail because people are seeing her case and they're like, I want to write this woman. We feel bad for her. The girl who, Jessica, I forget what her last name is, but she ran over like 8 kids on the freeway.
All right, so.
She was high on weed and it was back when weed was illegal. And she got 20 years.
And she's getting a ton of mail?
A ton of mail. So you've got people who are like high profile cases, and then you have people who are getting on these websites. Yeah.
All right, but your case is
my case is not like, oh my gosh, this girl in Las Vegas.
No, you're a
poor
repeat
girl
offender.
That got 10 years for a nonviolent crime. Nobody's biting on that. So yeah, I had to put the.
All right, but correspondence starts coming in.
It comes in. So
and
it's just
so
like,
you got to write back to all these people.
So I have to write back to all these people.
But when they're writing you, what do they? I don't know. How does that?
So their first letters are
they don't,
just, hey, I saw your profile and I would love to get to know you. And so very quickly, as I saw how much mail was accumulating, I kind of was like, what's the type of person? Because at first I wrote back everybody, but once I got on to write a prisoner, I was like, I'm probably going to be a little bit more selective. And I was noticing that people from overseas, I liked talking to people from other countries a little bit more.
I mean, it's probably a lot less risk of interaction of any.
It seemed like a lot of people that would write
overseas.
A lot of people that would write here in the United States, especially to this particular prison. It's only one prison in Nevada, and you have all these girls on these sites. So
these are all guys writing you, or they're girls writing you?
They're all guys.
Okay.
They're all guys writing me. So, and then they're also writing a lot of other girls.
Well,
I'm so sure. People are talking. And so if I'm hearing that, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to a guy who's writing 5 other girls in the prison. I'm not. That's just not. It's a waste of time.
Right.
It's not. I don't want to be in a competition because at that point it's just like this guy is obviously, this is what he does, right?
What is the typical male profile of someone that's writing these girls?
I don't know that there is a typical profile.
So it could be
weirdos.
Anyone.
I saw there was a lot of people that dealt with a lot of like weird kinky guys. I wasn't trying to deal with any of that. A guy who's wanting to write you and you're having to do the most and say the most, and that for $20, that's just not going to happen.
All right, so the girls are corresponding with a lot of these guys because they're looking
for anything,
for more than just a connection, but money. This is how. I mean,
Yeah, it's possible.
This is how some of these girls are.
Yeah, of course. And then you have people because that's so. It's known that this is like a thing in most prisons, but in our prison, it was like known that because we had investigators in our prison, so they're constantly investigating, making sure there's no drugs coming into the prison. They're investigating, if there's relationships with correctional officers. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
And they're investigating like your mail, so if you're using someone else's picture, there's a lot of people in there. They're not probably going to get that much mail if they're not using someone else's picture. So there was that going on. That's a crime.
Okay.
If you're, telling these people that you're in prison for, theft and you're really in prison for something else, that's a crime. If you're lying, like if you're straight out lying about these certain things and pretending to be someone else, then that turns that relationship into a crime.
Okay. But just simply corresponding back and forth, you being you, that's legit.
And just straight out telling you, like, I don't have anything and I'm not going to be able to write you back unless you make that happen.
So how many of these people are you writing? And how quick does
Everyone
this build
that
up?
writes me. And then I'm asked, so I started to ask them for their phone numbers because I'm like, I'd much rather have a conversation than wait for you to get my mail in 7 days.
But then you gotta pay for these calls?
So the person would be able to
How much phone time do you get?
So the person, you can get as much phone time as you need, but I would always tell people you're going to need to set up an account. You're going to have to pay for the phone time.
Okay.
Set up that account so that way I can call you.
So there's girls basically running hotlines in there all day. Like paid hotlines. That's basically what that is, right?
I don't know what a hotline is.
It's like those old...
When the hotline blings?
I don't know. It's like old back in the day in the newspaper, they used to have those phone numbers that people would call to talk to the girls. But I think with the internet...
The party line?
Yeah, I think with the internet, that's kind of not a thing anymore. But I guess it's a thing in the prison.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, because it's girls yapping on the phone all day to guys that have paid for their...
everything.
But so that's legit, though. So it's not legit.
That's legit.
It's not legit if I put a fake photo and ask somebody for money. But if I put a real photo...
If I'm saying this is who I am,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in prison for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in here for different burglaries and home invasions.
Okay.
And I'm not getting out of here for 10 years because that's another thing. People are, a lot of people that don't have anything are going to say and do anything one time to get what they want one time. I'm going to get out and come home to you next month. I just need you to send me $500.
Okay.
Because in their mind, like, that's going to be the biggest thing that they ever get. So they're going to get the $500. The person's going to know that they didn't come home. They're going to call the prison and say, this person lied to me, listen to the phone call. And then they're going to be...
That's right. All the phone calls are listening to.
And now they're going to be investigated and they're going to have a problem. And now their mail is going to be monitored and they're going to, like a lot of people, criminals, think like that. I just want $500 and I'll be happy.
All right, so...
I'm going to be here 10 years. I can't afford to do that. I need longevity.
So how are you able to, in a way, kind of circumvent that? So, and where... If I'm writing you letters, how do I give you money?
Good question. So the JPay where they send the emails,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to send a maximum of, I want to say $300 a day. $300 a day? I think that's what it was.
All right, but if you got...
There's a maximum amount, and then there's also like money orders that you can send up to, I want to say it was $2,700.
All right, but what are you going to do with the money orders? There's no bank. Where are you
So
going?
they send in the money order. There's like something in the system where you can send the money order and they'll deposit it on your account. They'll do that for you because people are getting money orders from their family that doesn't know how to.
Okay, but do you have an account? Who has the account? Where's the account?
So my account is just like basically like just like a bank account, I guess. You get a statement every month.
But it's run by the state? Or
It's run by the state.
So there's a state...
This is your account, so you can spend money and you can buy things. You can go buy your TV and your air mattress and your clothes and
Right. So,
things.
and when you're in prison, they give you like a card?
No. So you would... They have a list of things you can buy.
Okay.
And then you fill out a paper. I want one of this and one of that. When you're buying electronics, they have you submit the form. That takes a little bit longer because they want to engrave your electronics, make sure that nobody's sharing or stealing or bullying people for their things. And then with the regular store, you're submitting it each week. Over time, they did get a kiosk towards the end, a kiosk where you could put the order in.
But how are they keeping track? How do you know how much money's in your account?
So you would get a notice of anyone who would put money in your books. You would get a receipt for it, just like you got your at night with the mail. You would get the receipt. So a person would say, "Oh, I'm putting this on your books,"
Mm-hmm.
and you also could call. They had a number you could call and constantly find out what your balance was on your phone, and what your balance was for the money you have, and then they give you a monthly statement.
All right, but now if there's a guy giving a girl, like, even if it's, let's say it's $300 a day every day for a week, that's $2,100 a week.
That's right.
$8,000 a month
Right.
off of one person, and you're in women's state prison. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, because there's not that many electronics you're going to be buying, and
No.
not that many air mattresses that you need, and your clothes aren't. You're not going to have a ton of clothes.
No.
So that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I do that, even just that for 6 months, we're talking about close to $50,000. Who keeps track of that money? Like, you get like a statement every day?
You get a statement every month. You get a statement every
and
month.
the state prisons, it's all good. It's cool. I walk into state prison most of the time, not every time, but a lot, especially in your situation, you're walking in there with nothing. It's not like you have a big bank account, or you wouldn't be breaking into houses, right?
Right.
So all of a sudden, you're gonna go from $0 to
Yes.
an account with like 50 G's. And
I mean,
that's cool. The state's cool
well,
with that.
It's going to take time.
I know it's going to take time. Right.
Right.
You got to do all
Build
the
a
steps and the process,
Right.
but that's cool. You can go into prison with nothing and start stacking money.
Yeah, because there's people in there that also have jobs, and that's how when they pay them for their job, whether it be $13 a month.
But the job's $13 a month.
The job is $13 a
Like,
month.
hustling guys is not $13 a month.
Right.
So then I have another question on that. How are they motivating these girls to even do these jobs? Because they need those jobs done.
That's the thing, is that when you go to prison, if you get a 1 to 4 year sentence and you don't work, you're gonna do possibly 2 years and some change.
So the work
but when
is
you get a life sentence,
what's the difference?
there's not a lot of motivation.
Yeah.
There's not because you're doing 10 years no matter what.
You're doing 10 no matter
it's
what.
10.
Doesn't matter
it's
how.
Period. There's literally nothing you can do.
Not working it off in the kitchen.
No.
All right.
No.
Okay, I get that. Now, let me back up here a second. So you write the website posts photos. Now you're receiving mail. You're writing
And
back.
I'm starting to see the different types of people, and I'm realizing
You're writing back to these people.
I'm not going to be having. It's unrealistic for me to be having the same type of relationship that I'm seeing other people have. I'm seeing other people and they have the bare minimum and they're willing to do the absolute most, and that doesn't seem to be benefiting them. So
what is the most? How much can I do for somebody?
I'm not going to get on the phone and have sexual conversations with you, because those types of guys have 6 girls they're calling, doing that with, and sending them $20.
Okay.
That's not going to work for me.
Okay.
That's not going to be. I'm trying to have a relationship.
But multiple. But how does the relationship work though?
Develop a friendship. I'm in here for 10 years. We're not going anywhere.
You got nothing but time.
We have nothing but time.
All right, but you're developing a friendship initially through written correspondence and then transferring it to the phone.
Yeah.
So how much time are you spending on the phone during the week?
So, like I told you, for the first 5 years that I was in prison, I was in and out of the hole. I was in and out of the segregation. Another thing was if I, having relationships with people in there is definitely prohibited. So that was something that I would go to the hole for. If you're in a relationship with someone in prison, that's not allowed. So I would go to the hole, and in the hole, you can only use the phone 15 minutes every other day. So at that point, I need to decide who's getting that phone call.
Okay. And how do these phone calls go? Like, I just want to know, how does it go from correspondence to phone call to me putting money on your account?
Just like it does in the real world. If you meet somebody and you're texting them and then you want to get to know them better and you probably want to talk to them on the phone. I guess that's not really like that now, but it's like that for me. I like to talk to people on the phone that I like. I feel like you have a better conversation on the phone than you are, especially we're not texting back and forth in prison. So it's like you're writing a letter, and at that point, a person's reading that letter and that's it. So if you can have a phone call, a dialect.
But the phone calls
calls
though are all monitored.
Yeah,
For the
that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm not lying to anybody on the phone.
but there's a way. But the girls are still getting people on the phone and getting money transferred to their account.
Yes.
That's
a lot of people I've noticed in there also would.
Is it like, hey, I need this, and this. Can you help me
People
out?
would say, and that's why I said the people overseas. So a lot of American guys, like you would say, hey, I need this, and this, and they were like, well, I'm not gonna buy you that soap. I'm not ever gonna smell it. So it's like, okay, I'm not writing you back. That's at the end. We're putting you in the trash. And so, but you have people overseas, and it costs 3 stamps to write somebody that's overseas. So,
okay, I didn't know there was such a market for
good
whereabouts in overseas. Like Europe or
Ireland.
Okay,
was good for me.
Ireland was good for you.
I was Irish.
But there's only like 6 million people total in Ireland.
Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Europe.
Okay. Yeah.
And
then you say, hey, like, I want to write you, I want to get to know you, and it costs 3 stamps. So 3 stamps is, what, $1.50, and then I have to get envelopes, paper, everything. And then on top of it, like, I'm in here with nothing and no one. So anything else is appreciated.
Okay. And then you want the anything else. So you leave the anything else.
Leave that ... and see where that kind of goes.
Open to see where it goes.
Yeah, like anything else. And like a good response to that would be like, what's the maximum I can put?
All right, this sounds like this is an operation though that takes a lot of time. I mean, I think you have the time at this point in time.
I have time.
But this takes a lot. How much mail is coming in a week?
A lot of mail. I'm getting a lot of mail.
10?
10 like letters?
Yeah.
I'm getting like probably like 20 letters a night. Or emails.
So 100 a week.
Yeah. Give or take. It depends. I don't think we didn't get mail on Fridays.
All right. About 100 a week.
Or the weekends.
Even 100 a week is like 5,000 a year.
So, I mean, obviously that's going to vary, and then like over the course of time, because
but you're saying that there's so much to pick from.
Okay, so now let's think about this. So
that
now
it's easy to whittle it down.
You start talking to people and you're like, okay, like, like I don't really like the way you responded to me, or I'm not really liking your vibe. Because they have the right to not like my vibe either. Like, oh, you're in prison for 10 years for stealing from people, and I had people talk to me like that. Like, oh, like, you have some audacity putting an ad online saying that you just made a few mistakes, but you robbed 50 people. Like, and I'm just like,
but a lot of this, I mean, for a lack of a better way, a lot of this seems like door-to-door sales. Like, door-to-door sales where you're going to go knock on 5,000 doors, and if you get 5 good ones.
Or they're knocking on my door and I'm opening it.
Yeah, but you're opening, in a way, you're opening all of them, but only keeping the good ones.
I'm talking to the people that intrigue me.
Okay. But I mean, if you still have 100 coming in every week,
I'll sometimes give those to other people.
But so there's just a constant supply of fresh meat.
Yeah, there's a constant supply.
Constant.
There's tons of fish in the sea. There's tons of people in the world.
All right, so how many are you trying to, how many are these girls working at a time?
So
I mean, it gets to be a lot to juggle no matter what. Are some of these girls on the phone all day?
I was on the phone all day.
So
It depends on what you're doing in there. A lot of people in there were into a little bit more drama and hanging. A lot of people in there needed the comfort of a person that was right in front of them. So,
But that's still a job, being on the phone all day.
that's a job. That's right. So, like, how many people do you think want to have a job for 8 hours?
And you were able to get that much phone time? So this is...
If I was
this
in
is-
general population.
When
But
you're in
I
gen pop-
went back and forth.
Okay, but...
In and out of general population for 5 years. I did a significant amount of time in the hole. Because the more times you go, the more that they're like, they have like a system where they're like, oh, okay, like you've been in here X amount of times. We're now going to have to, keep you for 6 months. And for me, it did not bother me that much because I had everything that the prison had to offer in a room. And when you're in the hole, you're in a room by yourself. So now I'm in the room by myself. I'm not able to use the phone. So that's rough.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have all my stuff. So I can work out in my room. I can watch TV. I have made a little schedule.
All right. So in a way, you have your private room. So...
They restrict certain things. They don't allow you to buy coffee once you go back there. But if you come in with coffee, you can keep that. So anytime that I was in general population, I always knew you're going back to the hole. Buy a lot of these things.
But the coffee wasn't a deal breaker.
No, because I knew I would always have what I wanted, because that's how it was at the beginning of the sentence. Towards the last few years of my sentence, they changed the rules and they were like, this shouldn't be a place people want to go, which was smart, because it shouldn't.
Okay.
And so they were like, if they go to the hole, take all of their appliances, take everything they have, and don't let them buy anything. So that kind of, was like a deterrent, of course.
Okay.
So you have to think, like, as you're talking to these people and you are developing, if you're in there for 3 months, you're not going to develop a relationship, but you do develop a relationship with someone that you talk to for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. When I went to prison, my longest relationship was maybe 3 years.
Okay.
So if I start talking to somebody and I end up talking to them for longer than that period of time, that's
So I
Does
guess...
that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I guess over
now
time...
think about this. If you're the guy who's writing someone and talking to somebody who you met on a site, and then over time as you guys talk and things become more serious, and you're like, yeah, I will send you the maximum and I will send you the money orders and whatever. But what about the ad that you have on the thing? Like, you don't need to still have the ad, right?
Okay.
So that becomes a
problem.
That becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. All right.
So
You're right.
Nobody's going to want to continue to do that for somebody who they think is obviously. So for a while, I would tell someone like that, like, you're out in the real world. I don't know what you're doing. We're operating on trust.
I mean, some of them are overseas. I mean, you have...
Yeah.
That's way far away.
Yeah. But now people are wanting to come and visit.
How did you get visits?
I did get visits.
How many visits?
I mean, I started getting visits from someone that was overseas. He would visit me 3 times a year.
I mean, that's a commitment.
That's a commitment.
Yeah.
He was an attorney, so at that point I was like, you have an international bar license, like, I want to do an appeal.
So what does a visit look like? How does that get set up?
So the visiting process takes...
They have to get approved, right?
The visiting process takes a good 2 months to 3 months for someone to get approved. So they'll have to send in their information. They'll do a background check on them. They're not letting anyone come into the prison that's an ex-felon. Or like, I think that's, yeah, they're not letting them come in if they're an ex-felon. And they'll take 2 to 3 months to approve it. They'll let you know. So I wasn't dying to have visits with these people. That was kind of like a new territory. So I would sometimes not put in the visiting application for, as long as that could go. And then we have to do another visiting application, whatever.
Okay, but the visits, how did the visits even work there?
So the visits would happen on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in a visitation room. Everyone goes into the same visitation room. It opens up at a certain time of day, and the person would have to come, and then I think they would get patted down. They would get patted down. We would get patted down before we came in and strip searched when we left. They would have vending machines and.
But it's just in a room and that's it.
It's a room full of people. So I'm visiting with you, and your friend could be visiting with someone. People are visiting their kids.
It's no private rooms or anything.
There's no private rooms.
Okay.
And then you have officers who they're consistently
walking through.
They're walking through, but they're also. An officer could be working in your unit, so they could get to know you in your unit, and then they could be working in the mailroom, and now they're reading your mail, and then they could be in the visitation room. So now they have a full idea of what's going on, which is the way it was for me with the visitation officers. They were just like, what are we doing this time?
How many of these people visited you during this 10-year time?
I want to say I had 4 people visit me.
Okay.
I didn't just let people visit me.
Which 4 is probably not that many with the amount that you're talking to on the phone.
No.
It's probably a lot more. I mean, how many hours a day are you spending on the phone in Gen Pop?
Probably like a good 4 hours.
I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 hours a day of phone time.
Or it's like somebody wants to say good morning, and then they want to talk to you at nighttime, but it's like a quick call. It's just a normal.
But they can't really call you. You got to call them.
You have to call them.
So you're making a lot of calls.
I'm making some calls.
Yeah. 4 people came to visit you in person, and I'm just guessing that might complicate the situation.
So, in what way?
Because now, probably developing maybe more of an attachment than you were looking for.
So there was a person that I was talking to, and I did at one point, and that was the guy from Ireland that I did. He had a lot that he could provide. I knew that he genuinely cared about me. He did everything within his power to try to get me out. I mean, took my case back to trial.
Oh, really?
He did. And he's a pretty controlling person. He didn't really have, I mean, outside of work, he didn't have anything going on for him. And in Ireland, like the legal system, although he was like a private attorney, the equivalent of a public defender in the United States, like they got paid a lot more there.
Okay.
So I did try to wrap my mind at one point around.
But it's somebody that definitely
following through on the things I was saying.
Definitely someone that invested time into this whole thing because they're traveling.
He invested 5 years of his time into me.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of time, and I mean that's a lot of time on both of our parts. So
that's not someone you talk to anymore.
It's not. I
mean, how does that even break off?
So a few years before I got out, like when it was coming to the end of my sentence around like my 7th year, I was really hyper aware of the fact that I did nothing but get in trouble. I was like, I didn't do a whole lot with the beginning of my sentence, and I was like, I really need to get it together because the parole board, like, what do they really have to look at
Nothing.
And say that they want to let me out. I knew that there was a program that I could go to. The last year that I was in there, it was an inpatient drug program that was in the prison. I really didn't want to go to it. It involved a lot of talking in front of people, and it just wasn't something I wanted to do. But I knew that I needed to get to a point where I could do that, because that was going to kind of that was definitely a major factor in my parole board. And then I also knew that, well, I don't want to say that so I ended up in a relationship with someone, and I knew that, it's unrealistic to think that if I want to have a serious relationship with someone, that I'm not going to be getting money from men and be able to have both of those things. So
Usually it doesn't work out.
Yeah. And we kind of had a conversation about if that's the type of person that you are, if those are the things that you're doing, if you're, manipulating or just being that way, that it makes it difficult for you to make the changes that you need to make to be able to put this behind you.
So somebody else came into your life and that helped motivate you to make changes.
That helped motivate me to make changes. And I was like, you know what? With this guy, I'm going to definitely need to...
But it wasn't just him. There was more than just him on the line. Yes or no?
There was a few people on the line.
And you cut them all off? Or a little at a time?
It was a struggle. I did have a guy who was a pastor.
That's
he was
not what I expected, but
he was an older man. He was 65. He was 65. And I genuinely, he actually really cared about me. I really liked him. I did find it hard to believe, because this is my mindset, is that it's really hard for me to believe that you believe that we could actually have a life together. In my mind, I'm like, what is going on in your mind to think that that's realistic?
Right, because you're in prison and they're not.
But then I'm getting out of prison, and I'm the person who's 30 years younger than you.
Where was this person located at?
Michigan.
Which still, even from here to there, it's a long distance relationship.
I did not like to talk to anyone who lived in Las Vegas. A person who's going to come and visit me every week. That's just not.
That wasn't your thing.
That would be more of a very real relationship. So no.
So how does again how do you work your way out of it though then?
So the lawyer, he was the one who would press me, and he would tell me he didn't want me to have the. He didn't want me to have the.
But he's in Ireland. He knows that.
He's in Ireland.
Even when you get out, they're not letting you go to Ireland.
He's now on different blogs asking people about me. Oh, and now people are like, oh, I talked to her. She asked me for stamps. Oh, yeah, that girl. So now people are talking, and now he's sending it to me. But I could tell when I read the script that one of the names in there was him. And he was instigating these. He's like, I saw this about you. And I'm like, no, you did that.
Yeah.
You did that.
Yeah.
And so with him, I could tell he was definitely when he came over to see me, he told me that, he started talking to me in visitation of wanting to do some type of insurance fraud on the car that he got. So I'm like,
that's all you need.
Yeah, so I'm picking up on the type of person that you are, and you're not 100% above board, which is fine in certain ways, but at the same time,
he's got to come all the way out from Ireland over here to try and start an insurance fraud scam.
And he was an interesting guy. But I mean, there was times that in that relationship where we would, he sought out other people to ask about me in the prison. He wasn't trying to talk to them on that level, but he was wanting to know every single thing about me.
Trying to find out what you're doing.
He found out who my family was. I mean, he really did his homework on me. So at this point,
would imagine your family didn't like that too much.
They did not like that. They did not like that because they have no idea what's going on. And so, at one point he, found out that I had a relationship with someone in there, and he was like, I'm going to report you. And at this point, this is now like 3 or 4 years before I get out, and they've started this new like law where even the relationships between people in there, like there could be like 18 months in the hole, because now they're going to be looking at it like rape and these just different laws going into effect, whether or not it was that. And so if in the beginning of that, if that was even said, it was automatically they would come in, put your hands behind your back, you're going. Mm-hmm. So he was like, if you don't.
So he's kind of he's threatening you.
He's threatening me on every level, and he's
trying to control you in prison from out of prison.
100%.
But still, how do you get out of that? How do you cut it off?
So,
I mean, so this is kind of the danger with this whole thing with getting the money from these guys is the money could be good, but the attachments could cause a problem.
The attachments could cause a problem. I never, lied to him or like I said, people would say, oh, I want to go take college classes here. If you could send me that. I never did that. I literally told him,
I need money for
I don't want my money in your bank account. I want to be an independent person. And if you can't respect that, and then what are we doing? Like, I'm trying to get out and rebuild, and if that involves you, then this is the way that I want it to be. I want to get out and buy my own car. I don't want you to buy me a car or buy me a phone and be in your name. Like, I want to be a different person, and it starts with, obviously, money. So
Right. But again, how do you get out of it?
So
how do you?
So with him, I just straight out had to tell him, and it took me a few months. And I was like, I want to say 2 years prior to me getting out. Because I was like, if I don't break this tie now,
this could be
because he's going to threaten me. I already know he's going to threaten me, but I know that it's going to take some time for him to threaten me and for this hopefully to die down. And it's like time is what, heals people. So let's go for the 2-year mark, I guess.
And hopefully he finds somebody else.
And it's tough because that's literally saying goodbye to... I mean, it was $4,000 a month.
Jeez.
So
that's like $40,000 a year. What are you even doing with all that money in there?
Saving it.
Okay. Fair. I mean, but.
And I sent it home because I was like, at any point, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like you said, like this is what type of bank, I don't even know. So it's time to. Send that to a real bank.
Making more money in there than some of these girls.
I'm making more money in there than I've ever really had.
Than these girls are making out here. You probably. I don't know. I mean, we can go into.
You don't even
down the line about
have a real relationship. You're not even having to be.
But I mean, okay, so this is one guy, but I mean, you got a pastor too. I mean, is he sending you money too?
He was sending me money, and I really did like him.
So I mean, this is a lot of money though that we're talking about though now.
He sent me a lot of books, and anytime that I.
But if you got one that's sending you $4,000 a month, and then the others are only adding up to another $1,000, this is still like $60,000 in a year.
Every dollar counts.
Yeah.
At this point,
because
this is my mindset at this point is
$60,000 a year.
If I'm gonna sit here for X amount of time.
I mean, what is your living expense in there? Not that much.
They were able to send me all those same things that I could buy. They were able to, predominantly, could send them to me on packages. So my mindset was to have all those things sent to me on packages so that I could not spend any of my money.
But once you have a certain amount of stuff, you don't really need anything other than food.
Yeah.
So you don't have a lot of expenses.
You don't have any expenses.
You don't have a lot of expenses.
Right.
So you're
I'm not buying phone time because you're going to buy that.
They're paying the phone time. So, all right. I mean, in a way, though, you can use this money to set yourself up for something
That's my plan.
when you get out of there.
My plan is to get out and do something different, and it starts with my original plan was to save $10,000. That was my goal.
Okay. But I think you probably surpassed that.
Yeah, so I mean,
We don't need
obviously,
to
just make a new goal.
talk numbers, but we'll say that it's
Yeah.
exceeded 10,000.
Yeah, and if you have $10,000, like, you can get out and you can buy a car.
You walked in with zero.
I want to say I had like $2,500.
Fine.
But
Not much.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, we're jumping ahead, but when you walk
So
out
it's
the
time to
door, what
walk-
do they do? Do they cut you a check? How do you get the money when you
So
leave?
I never wanted to fast forward to that point of them cutting me a check because I just didn't know what that looked like. So I sent my money home.
And home is who?
My mom.
So Mom Dukes isn't like suspicious that she's getting 60 grand a year or whatever it is, but it's not a couple $100. It's more than that.
My mom is definitely tuned in, and I told her that I had people that
But
wanted
she's
to
cool.
make sure that
I'll hold
she's
this
not. It's not that she's cool, because it definitely wasn't. She's not. She's really not cool. She said,
Mom, I'm hustling, guys.
She said, Rebecca.
Yeah.
No, my mom's not like that at all. I told you my mom's super. So my mom was like, "What are you doing, Rebecca?" And I was like, I just have different friends in here that want to help me out and take care of me, and they know when I'm getting out and stuff like that. And she was like, well, they're going to expect something from you when you get out. And I was
She's
like,
right.
It'll be all right.
Here's 50 grand. Hold it.
I mean, I sent money home like every month. I definitely wasn't making $50,000 a month.
Not a month, but I mean, over time it adds up.
But
you're there
you're
a long
not sending
time.
out that amount of money. So just think about it. Just the same way it comes in, $1,000. It's just like a person getting
But if you
paid.
said-
It's like payroll.
Yeah, but your mom's on payroll now. You have a payroll now.
She wasn't on payroll. She didn't. She really was. She just really tried not to get involved.
She didn't want to ask questions. But still, again,
Her only involvement was to tell me that I should invest and I should do just those types of things.
It's probably better that she had
Yeah.
Also you have a child and it could go towards that,
Right.
which is legitimate.
Always making sure to take care of, yeah. I did a lot of things for my family from there.
Which, hey, it's a little backwards way of doing it, but okay.
But it feels good to be able to do that.
Yeah,
it feels good too when I finally was able to, and it was like that when I called home. When I called home, I could tell nobody wanted to say, oh, we're having a party, and they felt bad, and it was just super awkward. I did not really want to do that, but at the same time, anything that I could do to feel like I was involved, I did that. I wanted to, my nephew wanted to do Taekwondo. Okay, well, I want to be the person that
helps you
do that.
Okay, fair. Now, what about let's get back to the pastor. I'm a little bit interested in the pastor. How does that end?
So I actually had a roommate. So he was not a person who, and that's why I really cared for him. He didn't seek me out on the right of prisoners or anything like that. I had a roommate in the county jail who was friends with him. He was a friend of hers. She was older as well. Mm-hmm. She killed her husband. Mm-hmm. And he would send her Bible verses and things of that. Obviously, he's a pastor, so she was like, would you want him to send you those things? And I was like, yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
So you got into the Bible?
I did take an interest. I always took an interest in anything that people were interested in. So I was able to learn a lot about a lot of different things, and that was
And how
That's why I say it's kind of like you're passing your time, but it's like you are developing relationships, but people are saying, "Oh, I love to travel." Okay, well, tell me more about that. Oh, I like to do this. I'll send you a book. I always love to read. I love to like learn different things about people. So I also took it as an opportunity. Like even if this doesn't work out on the level that I'm looking for, like they could send me a bunch of books. I was reading 2 and 3 books a day, and especially when I was in solitary confinement,
there's
like
not much else to do,
yeah,
right?
I want to learn, and then as I started getting into working out, like I'm like, okay, I want every single. You could get magazine subscriptions, so that's how I was getting Muscle and Fitness. I was getting Women's Fitness, Men's Fitness. Every book that I heard about.
You're just living the life.
Yeah, it's like you get stuff, and that's exciting for you when you're in a place like that. Like,
so how many? So you had the pastor, the guy from Ireland. Is there any other close? I mean, we had a couple more visitors, so there was a little bit more.
yeah, they were like it was tough to balance more than that, just because
Phone.
like
Okay.
exactly.
Phone.
Like, especially with a very controlling person who's like, what are you doing at this point in the day? I mean, I even told him at one point, like, I think I would want to get out and maybe be a personal trainer. I would want to, do this. And he was like, well, I wouldn't have a wife who is a personal trainer. You wouldn't have to do that. You wouldn't have to do anything. And I'm like, cool.
All right. So then you're getting to year 7, year 8, and maybe you're starting to think that you might have a chance of getting out. So this is what.
I know it's coming up.
But you don't know if you think you might have a chance. Not that you just get to 10 and see ya.
No, definitely not. I mean, it definitely it would have been like that but
your
for
mindset
me,
started to
as
change.
Years 4 and 5, after I got over year 5, like I wanted to do. I like would set a goal. Like, you're not gonna go back to the hole. You're not gonna get in trouble. You're not. A lot of times you're going to the hole. You're losing everything because everything you have has to fit. Because you said about expenses, everything has to fit in a gray box. And if it doesn't fit, then you have to donate it or throw it away or whatever the case may be. So every time that I go, I'm losing a lot, and then I'm getting out, and then I'm buying it again. And, you do get somewhat depressed after certain amounts of time by yourself, not having any interactions whatsoever. Like, it takes a toll. So, yeah, as time's going by, I'm like, okay, like I should get a job. I should, I sent a message to the people in the program. They were like, yeah, we don't let anyone come to the program until they have exactly this amount of time. And so it kind of like, anytime I felt like I was trying to make a step, it was like, you have too long. And it kind of just put me back in that mindset. Like, this is it for me. This is where I'm at.
Wait. They don't want to let you into the program because you have too long to go in your sentence?
Yeah. They believe that there's a certain point where you go into this program that makes it beneficial to transition.
Is this a transition program or a drug program?
Both.
What do you need the drug program for when you're 7 years deep?
I knew that everyone that did the drug program got their parole.
So that's what you need the drug program for?
Yeah.
For parole, not for
Right.
the drug program. You just need to go through the motions.
Yes.
But then still, why don't they let you into the drug program day one? That doesn't make any sense. I would think that you would need the program.
You send a kite, and it's like I said, every time that you're like mail call was like a significant part of the day, because it's like, is there any new people that want to talk to me? Towards the end, there's no new people that want to talk to me because I'm not even on the ads anymore. I already went back onto the ads, renewed the ad. The guy found out. The guy was like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore because you're doing this. And I was like, they renewed it without my permission.
Yeah.
They do that. This other site, I saw you on this other site. It's probably like they steal your information. I don't know how that works. Like, I'm not out there. I don't know what they're doing.
You're going to have access to the internet. Yeah.
I'm innocent bystander.
All right, so, but still, like, year 7, year 8.
You're getting a kite. You're getting kites from programs. So at this point, I'm like, I did get a job.
Doing what?
I got a job the caseworkers, you know, they got to know me over time. I was, 20. I was in my younger 20s when I went in there. So they were like, put in an application and we'll let you clean our office. And I was like, okay.
Okay.
So, like, that was a good situation. That was a job that, like, people don't really, it's like you have to be a trustee to get that. And they just kind of, like, gave me that chance. So I did start doing that. So around that time, some months into that, like I said, so people would have relationships with different people in the different. They went through a period where they were trying not to hire men for psychiatrists, mental health, caseworkers, and things like that, because our prison was known for every single person being manipulated into bringing things in and stuff like that. So
these guys are dumb.
Yeah. So
they're in
at this point,
those are people that work for the state that are being manipulated by the girls that are in the system.
Yeah, and they're
and
willing to risk their job. People who are married that went to jail for. The pastor, that was the pastor that was in our prison, like, right after I got out, they had a review journal about him, and I just remember, like, he would always tell people, like, I love my wife, and don't try to come at me because I will not fall for any. And
but it's all projection.
And he had a relationship, and he went to jail, and he got put on probation, and, like, yeah.
These guys are something. So then, anyways,
So I have my job, and
which is cleaning offices.
And as well as you can imagine that when you're around that many women, and you're a person who doesn't interact with a lot of those people or most of those people think that you think you're too good. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the situation that I was in. A lot of people didn't like me.
Okay. But girls don't like girls.
Girls don't like girls. So I did have people say that I was having a relationship with a caseworker. And so they took my job away.
What were you?
I was not.
Okay.
There is nothing there. But when they did the investigation and stuff like that, they were just like, once you're under an investigation, they're not going to put you back in that situation. So
they took your job away.
They took my job away. So there goes another good thing that I had, like, going for me.
Okay. So then this is year what?
We're going on I want to say we're coming up on year 8.
Yeah, but that's not that good for you then, because year 8 is, you're already 8 in, and your mindset is you're looking at 10 as maybe your chance.
Yeah.
To get out.
10 is when I go up for parole, so.
So then you're in year 8, and you're gonna.
So
what's
in between, like, year 8 and year 9 is when, I want to say year 8. Like, that was the last time that I went to the hole, and then at this point they've opened up this new program. Now, mind you, every time I'm in the hole, I have the pastor who's, like, sending me. He really did try to help me keep my mind right and, like, help me to. When you're up and down in there, you're up and down, like, and it's hard to balance your emotions. So at that point, I'm like, I really just want to get out of the hole and not go back. Like, I need to not go back. Like, I have to just probably not interact with that many people, follow the rules. Like, they had different rules. Like, you have to have your shirt tucked in. Stupid, but I always struggled with rules. Like, anything they wanted you to do that was just dumb to me, I just didn't do it.
That didn't work out too good for you.
And that didn't work out for me, but I knew at this point, it's like, you have to. Like, and even now at this point, I know myself. Like, if you can't even do this, like, you're not even going to last out there. Yeah. So, just try.
So this is like year 8. So what other changes come about then in year 8?
Now I go into another, like, form of now you go from lockdown to this other lockdown, and it's like a lesser lockdown where you have a roommate and you come out and you get to go outside and you get to come out like maybe 2 hours a day, two separate hours. So you get to make more phone calls.
Okay.
So.
And this is what you're still doing year 8, all these phone calls.
I've developed relationships at this point. I have to make phone calls, yeah.
Okay.
So, I went into that new austere, they call it austere, I don't know what, the austere programming. So at that point, like that's it. I was working out at this point. I'm getting the magazines, I'm getting the books.
That's a daily thing?
I saw it's like a weekly thing. And so I'm seeing, because I went through periods where I would run, then I did yoga, and I saw Christmas Abbott. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't.
She's a CrossFitter.
Christy. Okay, I mean, maybe.
Christmas. I mean, her name's Christmas. So she was a CrossFitter at the time. This is back, this was like
2017, 18.
17, 18. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, that's perfect. Because at this point, I haven't lifted weights or anything like that ever in my life. I'm into high intensity, but I'm liking everything that I'm seeing there. So I'm like, okay.
How did you see her?
She was in one of the magazines.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, and then right around this time is when I meet my wife, who I'm with now. She's also in the austere programming.
Well, explain the austere program.
So in the austere, you're in your room like 20 hours a day, but you come out, and if you're like all of the people on the top tier, they go out together. All the people on the bottom tier go out together. She was on a different tier.
But why did you get put into this program? Is this a punishment program?
So this is a step from the solitary confinement. At this point, I've gone to the solitary confinement for an extended time, and they think that I should ease back into population through this.
Okay.
That's a program they came up with. So they're like, okay, you'll get a little bit more. They started to think that keeping people in solitary confinement for 12 months and longer, that was
probably a problem.
Yeah, they shouldn't be doing that. So they developed this other thing for like people. So they put me out there. You do 90 days. I think you do 90 days in there. And I liked that. It was just, I mean, I was coming out more than I was before. Before I was maybe coming out every other day. So I'm like, yeah, this is perfect. I can come out, work out, make phone calls.
Okay.
So, yeah, I have to get through austere and make sure I just don't go back to the hole, and then I can get out and you can't get a job there or do anything like that.
So eventually, though, you move from this program and you move back to general population.
So I meet Tierra in the austere program.
Okay.
And so I see her, and she's working out. And so at this point in this prison, like, whereas I hear about and see in prisons that it's very common and it's like a lot of people work out, that wasn't a common thing in my prison. Like, nobody's working out. Everybody's eating and... on
the phone doing nothing.
I mean, I wouldn't call it doing nothing.
Oh.
Because some people are working out and on the phone.
All right.
Right?
All right.
So... yeah, I saw her doing handstand push-ups, and I was like, okay, we got somebody else working out in here. Because along the way, anytime I would work out, at one point I was teaching a step aerobics program in our gym. You could only check out one equipment or one or two equipment. So I would have like workouts that I would be setting up where I needed like a barbell and the dumbbells and this and that. And this is only when I'm able to go to the gym. So I would need other people
to sign things out,
to check things out.
Okay.
And so I would get people working out with me and things like that. I had a significant amount of people over the course of my time in prison that I worked out with, like definitely over 1,000.
Okay, but this is now, when you're in this program,
Yeah.
This is towards the end, this is year 8-ish, somewhere around then. Now you're working with other women in there to sign out equipment.
A little bit, yeah. Not in the austere program, but yeah.
So when you went back to Gen Pop, this is what you're putting together.
When they have the gym open. So our gym would open and close down. So if there was no gym, still, I would like...
What do you mean it would open and close down?
Like, they had a lot of issues with the gym and, like, keeping that specific area open. I don't know if it was because of... I mean, they always said it was a staff thing, but...
Oh, a lot of infection?
No, like, lack of staff.
Oh. Yeah, but I mean, it could be staph infection.
100%. Yeah, that's definitely
being clean in there.
No, yeah, definitely. No, but they so.
All right. So when they had staff, though,
there wasn't a lot of periods of time where we had the equipment.
But when you did, you're putting together workouts, and we're starting
together
to do some CrossFit workouts.
I met Tierra, and we started putting together laundry bags full of magazines and water bottles, and making weights and coming up with things.
That's old school CrossFit. That's functional fitness. Yeah. I mean, whatever it takes.
She seems to be more into the bodybuilding at this point, but
still, so this is
I've never done that, so I'm like...
This is year 8, year 9-ish, and this is starting to inspire change in you to go maybe in a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, like I'm not spending as much time on the phone. Now I'm like getting into this. Mind you, at this point, like, these prison staff have seen me get in trouble with other people,
For
go
years.
to the hole. But there's something about her and the way that she interacted that they really liked. She was super respectful. She always walked with her. She always had her hands behind her back when she would interact with staff. And I was just like...
Yeah, we call the staff, they're watching your hands because that's where the
She's just being super just like... I've just never seen anybody like that. Because most people are like, oh, you know, it's staff, F them, whatever.
Yeah,
that's how they...
But that's what got you into that
so I'm
mess.
like, okay. And so they're liking her. They're wanting to get to know her. And they're not messing with me when I'm around her. They're not, like, normally they're zeroing in on me. Oh, you know, they call me by my last name. You know.
So what else are you doing, though, at this time to think about getting out? And are you starting to get some hope?
So now we go from the austere to a bigger, like, not a dorm, but where me and her are both actually in the same area in different cells with, like, several people. And so we're coming out each day, and now we have a program. Like, we're waking up, we're drinking coffee, we're doing a workout. We're doing several workouts at this point. We're doing a workout in the pod, and then they let us outside, and then we do another workout, and then we're telling each other about the workouts that we're doing in our room. She's got a book she has us doing. We're working out. That's what we're doing. Okay. I'm getting on the phone in my spare time.
And this is now, is this helping you give hope that there might be a way out of this mess at some point in time?
Yeah.
Are you looking to get out of here now?
I'm looking to get out of here, and I'm like, this girl's not trying to have any drama.
So what else is the plan, though? What else is the plan?
Like,
you're working out. You're working out.
I have to leave in 10 minutes.
That's fine.
I have to pick her up.
All right. So we're working out.
I'm like,
we'll get to the conclusion then. We're working out. You're doing better. This is starting to inspire change.
We're talking about, where our lives are going. She's telling me what she's got going on. She's going to be...
But you're trying to stay out of trouble now. You're trying not to go back to solitary.
I'm like, I know I can do this. Like, this is a person, I'm talking to a person who doesn't get in any trouble. Only positive things that she's talking about. Everything is a positive, uplifting, no drama situation. So
what else are you doing? Do you have a job at this point in time? Are you thinking about school? Like, what if you do get out? What are you going to do to not come back?
So school was not an option. At this point, like, here and there, I took classes. They had courses that you could take. Anger management, these different classes that most people take to get time off. I did go and take commitment to change 1, 2, and 3. These things are happening in those last years. Like, they're 3 and 6 months programs. I'm going to these things. It's kind of a bummer because I'm not getting any time off. But I'm like, this is the right thing to do. Like, go to the classes. And I'm trying to utilize the classes as an opportunity to open up if I can, because I'm a very, very private person. I'm not a person who, and I know that when they put me in this other program, that's the expectation, and I honestly cannot fathom doing that.
What, the drug program, you mean?
Right.
And you finally get into this program.
So I finally get into the program, yep.
So you're in the program. This is group setting?
This is a group setting, and this is a dorm setting. There's 120 people, and there is no rooms. I've never been in this situation, and it's wild.
So this is like a rehab.
But in prison. I mean, I've never been to a rehab, but
why do they have to move you to? I just don't get that. Why they have to move?
That's the criteria.
But you're not on drugs at this point in time. That's
I'm not on drugs, but and that's the thing with me when I went to this program, is that most of the people didn't have as long as I did, so I was so far removed that the way that I approached they're used to people who were just coming off of drugs, and so they do different like skits and setups, and they have ways that they use the counselors and the people. They ask the people to like find out things about your life and then try to like use them against you and approach you in ways to test you. But at this point, those are not the types of things that are good. Like, my whole focus is graduating this program. That's not gonna be something that stands in between me.
And you were able to stay out of trouble, not talk back to the staff.
Because you have to stay out of trouble for a full amount of time to even be allowed to go in the program. To prove. Yeah.
Okay. But what if you have a drug problem and you legitimately need the program? Like, that's what I don't understand how that works.
Yeah, they have people in there that they're doing that with, and then they're leaving, and they're giving them different things. People that were using heroin,
But this is what, year 9 though, you're in this drug program.
Yeah.
So the drugs was already a long time ago.
Yeah.
But you just have to suck this up, do this, stay out of trouble.
Graduate the program.
Graduate the program. How long is the program?
A year.
A year?
This is a year-long program.
Okay, so you have to live with you're not, like, your living situation, I'm not saying...
You're living there, and also there's a rule in the program that you're only allowed to make 2 15-minute phone calls a day.
So that fucks your program up.
So towards the end of my program, we had some problems with that.
Okay. But that also enabled you to probably untangle some other things. So you
At
just
the
didn't
beginning,
have the time for it.
I haven't have time for anything. Like, they limit everything, all your interactions, the way you do things, even like the working out, which was a problem for me as well. They were telling me like, oh, you need to be doing this and not that, and...
All right, but still, I mean, it also seemed like your living situation might have been better not in the program.
That's how I felt, but I felt like the program was...
I needed to
go to the program. I already set my mind to that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
But you did this program a whole year. It's a lot of like AANA meeting type thing? So there's
there's all the meetings,
all the group settings,
and all the private sessions, and
all the private sessions.
They want you policing each other, and then if you're not policing someone, if you refuse to police, then you're not doing the program, and if you're not accepted to being policed by another inmate, you really have to be able to operate on a special level to do that program.
It's a big pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And
if you react in a
negative way, they kick you out of the program.
Antisocial, that's what they called it. You're trying to be pro-social.
Okay.
Then you're not going to graduate the program.
But you did graduate the program.
At the end of the program, they told me that, that we've never had a person who's been able to successfully go through every single thing that we've had to offer and never have a hiccup. And we wonder what that means about you.
I mean, it just means
I'm ready to go.
It motivates.
I'm ready.
You're motivated to get out of here.
Yeah, I'm not going to do any drugs. I'm not going to...
What happens when you graduate the program? I'm going to be quick here. What happens when you graduate? Do they send you back to general population?
So the program, like I said, they see the amount of time that you have, and they let you in because it's supposed to correspond with your
Release?
release. But I was supposed to go to parole, go to my parole hearing, and I was out running the track. You know, I had already graduated I graduated the program, so I'm in an aftercare, and I should just be in the aftercare for 2 months. And they came out and they were like, "Hey, we need to talk to you. You're not going to be going to your parole board."
Okay.
And I was like,
"What do you mean?"
"What do you mean?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "The world is shutting down. Nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's doing anything." It was 2020.
Oh, well, this is not going to be. I was trying to wrap this up quick, but that's not going to be quick. Then, okay, so in a normal circumstance, I
would have just eased on out in my 10 years, but I'm not a normal person. It's not a normal circumstance.
COVID happened, and then that's a whole nother set of problems. But eventually, COVID probably worked in your favor, and they cut you loose. And I'm just speculating.
No, they didn't. They had people that they were kicking out, but they were like not a high-risk person and not a person who's on lifetime parole. And it's just like there was no way for me. I didn't go to the parole board. So had they taken me, they would have kicked me out.
But COVID worked in the favor of a lot of people, and they cut a lot.
Not me.
And it worked the opposite for you.
I did extra time.
Because of that. Oh, man. All right. Well, we'll have to continue this conversation.
Yeah, we'll have to retouch on it.
Continue.
Last time I was in a sweatshirt. This time I'm in a tank top. So,
but you also have at least spoken about a lot about your progress and a lot about how, you got into doing these workouts and you learned about CrossFit in a state prison, and that
and how I'm realizing
that helped inspire you for a lot of change, and that started to bring about good things into your life.
100%.
Okay.
Working out, realizing that you have to, change your behaviors inside before you get out there.
Which you have
done. In order to be a productive person.
Which you have done. On a last note, how long have you been out now?
Almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years, and there's no turning back.
There's no turning back. I can't
you're
even believe
not that person at all anymore.
I'm not that person. I just can't even believe I couldn't figure it out sooner. It's mind-blowing.
And let's, just one last question. Is when you went in there was really strained relationships with, your child, your family, your mom. In the last 4 years, has a lot of that been repaired?
Some relationships have been repaired, yeah. Yeah.
So you have better relations.
I have better relationships. I have new relationships that are relationships I would have never had with people that I would never imagine.
They may not be perfect, but you would say you have a way better relationship with your mom now than you did 10, 12 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, kind of.
And your child.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, she never knew me. She never really got to know me. So at this point, I get to have that relationship, and definitely. And
you're still working out now to this day.
I'm definitely still working out.
Years later.
Yeah.
All right. All right. We'll carry this on with COVID, I'm sure. What a disaster. But that's all right. Thank you for coming. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Yeah.